IATEFL on this wonderfully rainy afternoon. I'm here with James Taylor and Ila Coimbra.
Hello.
How's your IATEFL going? How's it going?
Very well. I mean, I'm very impressed with the sessions, and I think what made us very happy, and I think I can say that for James, is that there are a lot of talks, a plenary including about diversity and inclusion in ELT. So I think this is something that's going to make a big difference in the ELT world from now on.
Yeah,
I do think so. Yes.
Yeah. How do you think? What do you think?
On this topic?
Yeah.
I completely agree. Of course, that's what we're doing here. I think that there's a kind of this groundswell of discussion on this topic, and I think that that's how things change. It's a bottom-up process. I think that it's about diversity and representation in a lot of areas, and I think that that's this is where it begins. We have to begin to put the pressure on lots of different people within the profession, and this is how it starts. So it's very encouraging to see that.
And have you noticed any other threads running through the conference so far?
That seems to be the main one, but then maybe we're biased because that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, that's very much.
Yeah, I think there's always talks that you're looking for. For me, what I find most interesting are the things which are asking bigger questions. So people are perhaps looking at our profession and saying, where are these areas that we're not doing what we should be doing? And so I think there's been some interesting, there's been a lot about social justice, and
OPC,
right? I've also seen talks about workers' rights and other issues. So that's what I found most interesting here this year. Fascinating stuff. Yeah.
And what's been the standout moment for you so far this week?
Well, I'm going to be really biased now. I'm going to do that in our presentation, but because that's very personal, that's a personal project that we have, and we managed to put it through. So, but definitely John Gray's plenary was also very relevant. I was a little bit disappointed, and I don't know if that was the reason, but I thought it was a little bit less full than it was the other plenaries. That might be because the second day, there might be because it's rainy in the morning and cold, but we tend to observe these kind of things. But in general, I think it was the highlight of the conference so far. I'm looking forward to see the follow-up session with him later this afternoon, definitely.
You also say that your own, because you did your joint session, didn't you?
Yes.
So you said that your own session was the other high point. So would you like to tell us more about your session, how it went, both of you?
Well, I mean, I think we rehearsed for that, we practiced that, right? We managed to put together a book, which is a multi-level group, right? A multi-level course book to be used in classroom that tackles several groups in society that are normally not included in course books, and all the funds, right, that we raise with this book is going to be directed to shelter for LGBT members that was kicked out from home because of their sexual orientation.
In São Paulo.
In São Paulo. It's called Casão. And we are very proud that we are raising a lot of money for them. It's a very important cause, right?
You should be proud,
Can you complete that, James?
Yeah, so the idea of the course book is, if you imagine a mainstream ELT international course book, but the lessons there contain a much wider range of representation of diversity of different social groups that you don't normally see in that kind of book. So that's what we've done. So it's not a book which concentrates on, say, the big issues related to those groups, but rather has very typical kind of lessons that you would find that you've taught many, many times, but with those people there. So for example, there's a lesson about leadership, and the example of a leader is a disabled person who lives in poverty. And normally that's not an association that most people would make between those two themes. So it's that kind of thing. There's lessons about there's lessons, I should say, with refugees, LGBT, trans, low-paid workers, people living in rural environments, and so. But these are not, as I said, not lessons about those subjects. They're lessons so the lesson about refugees, for example, is about texting and using emojis. It just so happens that the people who are texting are refugees.
Right, okay, yeah.
You know, and that's the approach that we wanted to take in this book, just to show that it can be done.
So how did you actually put it together? I mean, where did you get your material? Did you create it?
Yeah, we created. Yeah, basically, we developed the lessons together. I mean, there are some lessons that I wrote, some lessons that James wrote.
Yes.
But we always discuss the lessons to look at each other's lesson.
Yeah.
We are kind of also strongly based in theory. So queer theory and critical thinking theory, critical pedagogy theory. Yes. So that's where we based our book, and there are some principles that guided us through the writing of this book, like diversity really benefits everyone. I mean, the approach to diversity that we try to have is this, as James said, like diversity through stealth, right? Yeah. So I mean, this is how we did it. It was fun because we did it online, because we live apart from each other, but I mean, I think that was another challenge that we overcame, right?
Yeah.
Anything else?
Well, I was going to ask you how you chose that particular course, that organisation.
Oh, well, Ila, that's your experience, right?
Well, yeah, it's an organization that I happen to have volunteered for, and because they are a shelter for LGBT members that were kicked out from home, but they also are taking care of the community in the surroundings. They are in a very poor area, downtown São Paulo, and there are a lot of homelesses, there are a lot of people in situation of social vulnerability. And so not only do they shelter the population that were kicked out from home, but they also offer courses for the inhabitants of the house and for this community. So they offer sewing courses, hairdressing courses, and language courses. So that's where I volunteered, and it's a project inside called English to Transform, because the focus started with the trans community in Brazil. So as I know the people, I know the cause, I know how it works. It's a very reliable cause, and they almost closed this year because of lack of funds. So I think that was a good choice for that book particularly. Yeah.
And what's your year ahead looking like?
Well, we've launched the book here at IATEFL, so this is the first time that we've presented it to the world. So now we'd like to take that around to different conferences. Ila now lives in Europe. I'm in Brazil, so geographically we can cover different areas.
Yes. The world tour. Let's start in Liverpool. And then rings a bell.
And then we can hopefully tell as many people about it as possible. And of course, we need people's help. So if you want to find out more about the book, go to the website tailormadeenglish.com/raiseup, and then help us spread the word and help us raise money for a good cause.
And of course, look out for you here as well.
Yeah, if you're around, just drop by and say hello.
That's no.
One big last question.
Yes.
With a quite quick answer though.
Yeah.
You mentioned about groundswell and big ideas. How do you see ELT moving forwards now in general? Not just you specifically, but our profession.
Well, it's always an interesting time, but I think if we related to the topic that we've spoken about here and that we've done our project on, then I think it's very interesting to see, because I mean we've spoken to some materials writers about this, and there is a feeling that perhaps things are getting more conservative rather than more progressive in internationally. So we might end up seeing the kind of divergence between local and self-published materials doing one thing and the global market. I would rather that wasn't the case, but I think that may be the way it goes in that respect.
GDPR effects. Do you agree with that?
I do agree, but I also would add that something really impressed me, the latest IATEFLs, and this one particularly, because IATEFL is the European center of ELT, and people might think that it's very European-centered, but the president nowadays is an African man.
Yes.
The opening plenary was a Chilean lady. The second plenary was about LGBT and queer ELT. So I think that, yes, there might be in the general industry, mainstream industry, a more conservative tendency, because the world in a conservative tendency, but I think that maybe, hopefully, ELT might be an inch of resistance to that. And this is I would really like to see, and I would really like to contribute. That might be another take on that, right?
I definitely hope that's true.
Yeah, let's see it. Let's collaborate with that.
Well, thank you very much for watching us.
Thank you very much. See you around.
Keep watching the channel for more interviews. Bye.
Bye.